Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing Bangkok Pat, another YouTuber, and actually a YouTuber I'm quite a fan of. I want to be clear, I'm not making this video to be hypercritical of Bangkok Pat. Again, tip of the hat to you, sir. I'm quite a fan. I like what you do. I like that you provide insight on the history, especially of different places here in Bangkok. It's very innovative. I really enjoy those videos. So let me just be clear. I'm not making this video to be hypercritical, but you do have an audience, and you were talking about matters pertaining to tax very briefly in an otherwise longer video, and I urge those who are watching this video, go check out his video. We'll put up the screenshot on our screen here, and like usual, I don't have time to deal with all the linking and everything all the time, but that said, on this one, because we're referring to something directly here on YouTube, I'll go ahead and throw the link up in the description below, back over to his channel, to that specific video where he talked about tax. It comes up around about the 23-minute mark, and just a couple of things. First of all, and I'm quoting, enforcement coming into effect January 2024. Again, this is not, I don't mean to be pedantic or semantic, and again, I'm not being hypercritical, but I think people need to understand what's going on here so they can have the right paradigm and they can prepare themselves. So just from my notes here, it's not an enforcement measure, strictly speaking. It's a change in regulations regarding the timing of inbound remittances. You know, a lot of people think that this is some massive change within the Thai tax structure. In a way, for foreigners, it has a disproportionate impact, so I understand why they think that. But again, to be clear, we're not talking about a change in the enforcement endeavors of the Revenue Department or the various agencies here in Thailand which deal with tax collection. It's not an enforcement difference. It is a difference in terms of the regulation prior to Jan 1, 2024. If you did not bring money into Thailand within the same calendar year as it was accrued, you didn't necessarily have to be assessed for taxability. Starting January 1, 2024, timing of when you accrued funds became irrelevant to whether or not they were assessable for taxation. That's the big difference. That's the change that has occurred. Again, not an enforcement thing. The enforcement mechanism has not changed at all. Quoting further, only people quote unquote busted, I'm not quoting there, but he mentions in the video that only people busted will be small fish, and that like sort of, it's kind of the classic, and I see his point completely, with the people with the resources to plan their taxes in such a way that they're tax efficient or they can avoid certain taxes. Yeah, they tend to be higher net worth people, but and then his presumption there is the vast majority of people who would be busted by this would be sort of, you know, lower down the socioeconomic strata. I don't see that as the case. And again, it comes from this notion that this is an enforcement thing. It's not. It's a reassessment of, well, tax accessibility, tax liability. It doesn't have anything to do with enforcement. So this notion that like the Revenue Department is going out and looking for, you know, people without means to bust them for some sort of tax violation, that's really not what's going on here. The other thing is, this is just one of my own personal sort of bugbears, if you will. You know, the use of the term loophole. I saw, he said, oh, the folks with, you know, more financial resources will be able to find the loopholes. There aren't any loopholes in the law. There's just the law. It just is what it is. I always find that term, especially from lay people, they say that all the time. Oh, there's a loophole. There's a loophole. No, it's just the law. It's just the way it is. So again, not to make, you know, sort of a semantic point about that, but the point I'm trying to make with this video and what I'm hoping people will understand is, again, this is not as big a change as people think it is. In fact, I kind of now lament doing the initial video where we talked about this, because people have sort of taken it wildly out of context, and it's kind of scaring people. And I get it. Taxes scare people. You know, tax policy does not make people, you know, it's not a happy topic. And again, I think Bangkok Pat did a good job of bringing up people's sort of fears and things. But again, I really don't think, as a practical matter, the vast majority of people, especially foreigners who are just wanting to retire here in Thailand or live and work, whatever, are really going to be negatively impacted by this at the end of the day. Yes, maybe some higher net worth individuals that are bringing in large amounts of money for various transactions, or especially corporations. This really is aimed, by the way, at corporations with branch presence here in Thailand, or a head office in Thailand and branches abroad. In fact, head offices in Thailand with branches abroad seems to be what they're specifically focusing upon. Now, what you need to understand in this video, though, is yes, certain individuals might get pulled under that rubric, but again, it's not an enforcement thing. They're not running around looking to bust people with regard to this. It simply comes down to your own personal tax situation and whether or not you would owe anything. And there are ways to plan and prepare one's tax setup in such a way that you can mitigate against even these changes in policy regarding the assessment of tax liability. There are ways of dealing with that. So the thing to take away from this video is, again, hats off to Bangkok Pat. Love your videos, but I think you were just, it's not so much off base, but I think you're making some presumptions that a lot of folks in the public I've noticed have been making lately.